Hello and welcome to this introduction to the library for pre-sessional students. My name is Emma and I'm one of the liaison librarians based at the Templeman Library. In this session I'm going to be covering the introduction to library services with a focus on using Library Search Digital for different work that you will need to do for the course. I'll also cover some different search tips and tricks to be aware of and introduce you to the Library Research Skills Moodle module, which has lots of other interactive content on there and covers lots of the things that I'm going to in the session, so it's a good place to go back to test your knowledge and maybe have a bit of a refresher. So I start off by talking about getting help, inquiry, email address and also the online chat service. If you've got a general IT query, so it might be something like different software that you might need to use or access, then I would recommend using the help desk at Kent's website. And then we also have lots of news and information that we share via things like our blogs, available from the library homepage, but also on things like Facebook and Twitter. So please do join us on those different social media platforms if you do want to keep up to date. I'm also happy for you to get in touch with me directly, either via email or if you want to have an online meeting, then that's possible too. So my contact details will be available at the end of this presentation. So I'm just going to firstly start off about talking about the importance of using the library. So it's very tempting in this day and age to go straight to things like Google and Wikipedia to do your searches. And whilst we do all use these services, obviously, for finding out general information, they're not always the most reliable of resources, or if they are reliable, it's quite difficult to find the good resources from the resources that might not be as reliable. That's why it's really important to use all of the resources that have been handpicked by your centres, and also by librarians in terms of relevancy, credibility, and academic quality. The other really important reason to use them is it's proven time and time again that students that use library resources get better results. And that's because you're judged on the quality of the resources that you use in terms of what you reference, and also it leads you to other good quality resources. So lots of the things that you'll find via library search you would never find or have access to via things like Google. There are things that will be behind paywalls, things that we subscribe to and pay money for you to have access to. So please do make sure that you do make use of the resources and get in touch if you do need any help at all. So I'm going to start off by talking about library search. I'll do a bit of demo of library search, talk a bit about the interface, and kind of show you how you can get to the key bits of information that you will need. Now, in terms of accessing the digital resources, if you just click on the section that says Library Search Digital, that will just give you a filter which will just show you everything that we have electronically. So that might be a little bit easier for you at this current time rather than having to kind of find stuff that you can access now. Rather than getting all the print resources coming back as well. So I'm just going to do a quick search. Now you can search if you have a title in mind, such as a book, and you have the author details and the title. You can search that way. You can also search for a general subject. So I'm going to carry out a search now for study skills. And you can just type that into the search box. And then you'll get the results back. So you can see I've got quite a big number in terms of the results that have been found, and I wouldn't really want to go through every single page, so I might want to put some filters on that straight away. So just to give you a bit of an overview on what's happening on this screen, all the resources down this side tend to relate to things such as ebooks, where the resources on this side will be more things like journal articles, maybe book reviews, conference proceedings, that type of thing. So for this demonstration, I'm just going to focus on the books. So if I just want to find the ebooks, I can click on the little hyperlink there, and then that will take that number right down to 178 results. And then I can just scroll down a little bit to see what's coming up there and what might look of interest. So I'm going to have a look at this one, the Ultimate Study Skills Handbook by Sarah Moore. If I wanted to go straight into the ebook, there's a link there to ebook, but I can also click on the title itself and it will give me a bit more information about that title. Okay, you may be asked at that stage to log in with your University of Kent login details, and then you just need to agree to the little message at the top there. And then you scroll down and you'll see it gives you a bit of a description about the book itself. You've got different options in terms of how you can access it. So you could download the whole ebook if you don't have stable internet access, and you might want to download it to read later, or you could read it online if you're just if you kind of are connected and you have the time to do that. So you can make that decision. So I'm just going to read it online just to give you a quick overview of some of the features. So it will appear in exactly the same way as a print book would appear. So you have like a table of contents down the side, which you could just jump into if you want to go straight into a particular section. You can print off to a section of it. You can copy different sections of it. As I've mentioned already, you can download sections for a particular period of time that you can use, and you can go in and out of the book as often as you like. So, you know, once you've closed the book down, you can then go into it on a different occasion. One of the other really nice features about it is that you can search within it. So you can almost use the book a bit like a search tool, in the same way that you might search for a subject area on library search. So we're looking at a general study skills book, so we might want to find something on academic writing, for example. So I can just put academic writing in there and then click on go. Oh, it hasn't found any results. That's a bit strange. Let's try that one again. Let's try referencing. Okay, and then wherever it finds a result, you'll see it'll get highlighted there, and you can click onto that, and then that will take you into the section, and it will also highlight the particular words that you've been looking for. So it has some really nice features for it. Hopefully there should have been shared with you a separate video on using ebooks that one of my colleagues has produced, which goes into a bit more detail in some of these features. So please do take a look at that. That will be really useful. Okay, so that's kind of a general search for looking for ebooks, and as I said, you can do searches for authors as well within that if you need to. The other thing that you can use Library Search for is finding online journal articles. And online journal articles are a really useful source for finding kind of new, upcoming sort of opinions on particular subject areas. So if you're doing some research in an area where it's quite a fast-moving subject and things are changing all the time, then journal articles are a really good source for that, because books quite often take a lot longer to get published than journal articles do. So the information flow is a bit quicker. Also in terms of just kind of widening the access that you have to resources. So there might be some different voices coming through those resources, different geographical perspectives. So in terms of that kind of richness of content and kind of spread of academic opinion, journal articles are also really good and really useful for that. So you can do a search there. We do also have subject guides for recommended resources as well. So I've put a little link into subject guides that you can go in, and then you can select a particular subject and see what are the recommended journal articles for that particular subject. If I was doing some research, say for example in law or in business, you could go to that subject guide and it would tell you what are the key databases to use for journals there. Okay, but for this example, I'm just going to go back into Library Search and I'm going to show you how it works when you're looking for journal articles. Okay, so I'm just going to take that out there, and I'm just going to do a search for international students and UK higher education. Okay, so this is what we call kind of our keywords. So I might have a topic area, and then I'm thinking about some of the keywords that I might want to search with. So international students and UK higher education. So we'll try this search again. And then you can see I've got quite a lot of results coming back, and there's a combination of things. There may be some books that are coming back that might be useful to have a look at. but there also might be journal articles as well. So you can see the top one there is a book, an ebook, but then you've also got some journal articles. So if we're focusing on journal articles, you can use the filters on this side, and if you limit it by peer-reviewed journals basically just means academic journals, so they're academic in content. So if I just click onto that one there, that will then refilter my list just to show me all of the academic journals. And I can scroll down and I can see that's reduced my search results a little bit further through there, and I can go down and I can have a look to see if any of these look of interest. Now there are some other things that I can do with my search which will help to make it a little bit more specific. So for example, at the moment I've got international students and UK higher education. So if I was to put quotation marks around the beginning and the end of international students, what that will do is it will search for international students as a phrase rather than searching just for students or international in separate instances. Okay, and I could do the same as well with higher education because I want those two words to come back next to each other within the same set of results. Okay, and you can see that's reduced the results quite dramatically there now, along there, and again I can scroll down and have a look. So let's have a click at the top one. Okay, so there's a role of university library in supporting international students. And as you scroll down, you can have a look to see what's been included. So at the top there, we have got my keywords. They're keywords that I've thought about. But as you go into different articles that you find, it's always worthwhile just having a look at the different subjects that might have been indexed below, because it could be that there are some other resources there that you hadn't thought about searching for. So you can see I've got UK. They've also mentioned Great Britain, so I could have put Great Britain, and UK or Great Britain, just to make sure I'm picking up all of those different resources within there. So just doing a little bit of a scan across things like subjects within the articles themselves is a really useful way for kind of crowdsourcing your keywords and just thinking a bit more broadly about it. If you're interested in actually viewing the content, you've got a little link there just to view it. And then quite often you might have more than one link, and that's because it's provided across a number of different suppliers. So you can select one of those, and then that should take you to the full text of that article that you can then either read online or save it, download it, whatever you want to do with it in terms of your research and your study. I would recommend that you do that as you go along, because it will make your life a lot easier if you've got a record of the things that you've used, rather than having to go back and trying to remember, which journal was it in, or did I find it in library search, or those types of questions. So do try and kind of keep a focus on what you're using as you go through. Okay, so that's a really nice kind of quick and simple, easy way of using library search to either find your books, ebooks, or your journal articles. And just to go back to the search results, just to point out a couple of additional things on this page. So as you scroll down, you can see that you've got different subjects as well, so that's another thing to consider, as well as looking in the actual article abstract itself. Different subjects, because they've got foreign students, which I could have used, as well as international students, and things like universities and colleges. There might be some other keywords from there that are always worth considering. Okay, so far we've been looking at library search and looking at the ebooks that you can access, and then the journal articles. But as I mentioned previously, we do also keep subject guides for different databases. The reason for this is that not all of the databases that we subscribe to are indexed within library search, so sometimes you won't find that information, and also other types of information such as multimedia resources. And then the other reason is because library search has a lot of different cross-disciplinary subjects in there. When you carry out your searches, you do quite often get a lot of results back to start off with, and sometimes that can be a bit overwhelming. So liaison librarians have created different subject guides for subjects, sort of like a signposting tool to give you the heads up on what are the key ones to use. So they're really useful, and I put a link again in here to the subject guides page that you can just go in and have a look at the subject that you're interested in. So I thought I would just do a demonstration of one of those now, just to give you a bit of an overview on how they work. So I'm just going to escape out of that and go back into Library Search. So if I have a look at the home page of Library Search Digital, what you'll see is I've got some other quick links. So there's a subject guides link there that you can go into and find the subject that you're interested in. We also have this e-resources A to Z. That lists every database that we subscribe to. So for the purposes of this, I'm just going to use that to show you how to access different databases. Okay, and the database that I'm going to show you is one which is called Academic Search Complete. This is a database which covers all of the different areas, so humanities, social sciences and sciences. It has a lot of full text access to journal articles in there, and it's quite cross-disciplinary, so it's good. It has a lot of multicultural backgrounds and perspectives as well, so if you're looking for that diversity, again, it's a really nice resource to have a look at. Okay, so this screen in terms of the search looks a little bit different to the search that we looked at in Library Search. This is called an advanced search, and what this allows you to do is to think about your keywords a bit more carefully. So I'm going to use the same example that we just searched for in terms of journals in Library Search, but I'm going to show you how you can kind of play around with the combination of keywords a little bit more. So in the top box we'll put international students. Okay, and then you can see here we've got two other boxes with a drop down with the words and or not in them. Now what they do is they allow you to either make your search more focused or to broaden out your search, so depending on what you need to do. So with this example I'm going to do international students, then I'm going to select or, and I'm going to put in foreign students, so it will search for either of those terms. And then I'm going to do and UK higher education. You can see that comes up there. And I can continue to filter that if I want to, so I can add in some more boxes by using the pluses or the minuses, but I'll keep it like that for now. The other thing to be aware of is when you carry out your search is that at the moment with these keywords, they are not selected to a particular field. So what that means is when I carry out the search just as it is, it will search for it across absolutely everything. So the only thing with that is sometimes you might get some resources back that are not as relevant as you might have hoped for. So if you change the selector field to search for your keywords within the abstract or the author supplied keywords, that should give you a much more focused set of results, because that basically is the summary. It's searching for your content within. So let's just give that a go now. Okay, and then you'll get the results coming back here. So with the results here in Academic Search Complete, you can see it will give you a little bit of a the beginning of a summary. It also includes the subjects, so similarly to when you're in Library Search, you can just have a quick scan of those to see if there are things there that maybe might be useful for you to include in your search, depending on what aspect you're kind of investigating around sort of international students, assimilation or achievement, those sorts of things. So there might be other things that you can add into the search just to give it a bit more context. So have a look at those and that will really help you. If you want to access any of the articles, you'll either be able to click on the link or download the PDF or go to the full text finder. Sometimes the actual full text of the article won't be in this data set, but it will give you a link out to another resource that you can access it in. You can put filters on it in the same way that you put filters in Library Search, so you'll be able to limit it to things like peer-reviewed journals. You'll be able to look at the date range, and that's probably quite important in your subject area. So here, for example, it goes right back to 1935. So unless you're doing some particular historical research, you probably don't want to go back that far. So you can use the slider to indicate, the time period. So if you click on that, that will then update your resources, and you'll get a lot more up-to-date things coming back. And you can be a lot more refined than that as well if you want to do, say, the last 5 years or something like that. Other useful features on here, you have things like a subject thesaurus, so you can click in there and you can see it breaks it down of the other kind of topic areas that have been used within there. Quite often you'll have a geography aspect as well, so if you want to look at see different countries, different areas, you can click on that and that will just show you those resources, particularly if you're interested in investigating from your home country perspective as well. Languages, so if you're trying to access things in different languages, there are different links there for filtering that. So lots of different options that you can use, and a really nice resource to have a go with and try out. So the other thing that I wanted to mention as well was when you're using things like these different databases like this one, Academic Search Complete, you can set up your own search alerts. So what that means is it will remember your search and it will send you an email every time a new article or reference has been added on that topic area. So it's a really simple way of just keeping on top of any new sort of resources or literature that might be being made available since you last did your search. So if you want to do that, you will need to create your own little login with the database itself. I just usually use my Gmail account because I have a Gmail account. So if you do, you can do that quite quick and simply. If you don't want to do it that way, you can create a new one. So I'll just quickly show you this. Okay, so once you've signed in, if you go to your search history, once you've carried out a search, and I can see there that I've got a search there. So if I wanted to set up a search alert, it's the last one there, Save Searches and Alerts. And then I can just give it a name. And then down the bottom I can choose which one it is. So if I just click on the alert option, it then gives me the option to say how frequently I want to receive the updates, how long for approximately, and an option to put in an email address there to update me, and then I can just save that. So I really would recommend doing that, and you can do that in lots of resources. Unfortunately, it's not currently possible to do it from Library Search itself, but lots of the other databases you can. So please do spend a bit of time setting those up, because you'll really thank me for that later. Okay, so that was a quick overview of one of the other journal databases. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to talk about is accessing multimedia resources. So I think I mentioned already that when you're doing searches in Library Search, you won't automatically find multimedia resources. When you do have access to our physical resources and the buildings are reopened, you will be able to search for things like DVDs. So DVDs and films will come up in the list of resources of all of the Library Search resources, not just the digital things. But additionally to that, we do subscribe to quite a few different multimedia packages. And again, we do have some web pages which list all of the different ones that we have access to. And quite often they might be in the subject guides as well, particularly in the areas of film and theatre and the arts, but other subject areas as well they are relevant for. So I'm just going to show you where you can access that list now. So Bob is a really nice resource where you can watch on-demand television and radio programmes for education and general learning through there. So there's lots of different resources. The first time that you use it, you will need to create a little sign-in, so it will just ask you details like your name and email address, but then once you've done that, it should be quite straightforward. So I'm just going to quickly sign in now. So once you've created your login, every time you sign in, it will just ask you to indicate which institution you're studying at. So you just type University of Kent into that box. Okay, and I'm just going to log in again there with my individual details. Okay, and then you're into Boxer Broadcast. Now, there are different ways that you can search it. So you have a search at the top there, but there's also a guide. So if you just wanted to have a look to see what programs are coming up, and it covers all of the main kind of different channels, digital channels and radio channels. So it could be that you just want to practice your English. You might want to watch something with subtitles on, that type of thing. You could do that. But also if you're searching for things like documentaries or any educational programs that might have been on, or even just catching up on some recreational viewing as well, you know, things for pleasure, things that you're interested in, try searching to see what's available on there. The great thing about Boxer Broadcasts is that it does go back historically. So there are older documents and resources that you can access via it additionally. So I'm just going to do a quick search now for international students, and I'm going to put that in the quotes again just to make sure it's a bit more specific when you're searching, and then carry out the search. Okay, and then you'll get a number of results back within there. If it says available to watch now, then that means you can just click on it and you'll be able to play it straight away. Same way you play a YouTube clip or something like that through the interface itself. If it is not available to watch, you can click on a link which will allow you to have it recorded, and then once it's available you'll get a little email reminder to say that it's done that for you. And again, you can set up your own area in Boxer Broadcast to sort of save programs that you find for ease of access rather than having to go back and search for it again at a later stage. So a really nice little resource to have a look at and play around with, and something a bit different from some of the more traditional kind of text-based resources that you might be using. Particularly when you're using a lot of resources online, it's kind of nice to have a bit of a change in terms of some visual kind of stimulation as well. Okay, so that kind of takes me to the end of lots of the main resources that I was going to point out as part of the session. So just to give you a bit of a recap around some of those things. So we talked about some of the different places you can go for help with using library services. We talked about using library search, but mainly focusing on the digital aspect of that. And we looked at looking for ebooks, but also journal articles. We also looked at particular databases and multimedia resources, finding different materials that would help you with your essays and projects, and as part of that talked about some of the different sort of tips and tricks you can use when you're carrying out your searches. So at this stage I would just like to point you in the direction of the Library Research Moodle module, and just point out a couple more things on there that will be relevant for you to make use of. So I'm just going to quickly escape out of this and just go back to the home page. So all students should be automatically enrolled on this module, and if you go to the section that says students and then Moodle, you should see there down the side there's a module DP23000 Library Research Skills. So you can just start to access it straight away within here. So it's a really, really nice module. It has lots of access in there. So it talks about things like information types and where to find them. So it goes into a lot more detail about different types of information, such as ebooks, journal articles, legal information, and other sources. Talks a little bit about search skills, so talks about creating your search strategy. So again, what we talked about in terms of thinking about keywords and how you combine them when you're carrying out your searches, and also things like alerts so you can keep up to date with things that you've used. So some nice little things and tools to try out there. It also talks about other things such as referencing and literature review, so other things that you can come back to and access additionally within there. So do have a look in there, do kind of follow some of the tutorials. I'd recommend having a look at the one where it gives you a bit of an overview of using Google Scholar. That's a really nice tool to have a look at and use. And again, if you need help with any of those, please do come back to me and ask me questions. And I would just really recommend that you make use of the resources that are available for you. and that if you do have any questions, make sure that you come back and ask. Practice. It's all about trial and error. Sometimes you don't get the information that you need straight away, but most of the time it is available and it is there. It just means that you've got to think a little bit more about the keywords you're using or the resource that you're trying to access. Is it the right tool for the job? And don't forget that you can always drop me an email. Best not to telephone because we're not on site at the moment. We're all working remotely, but please do drop me a line, and if it's easier to have an online conversation, as I said, I'm more than happy to set that up. Okay, so good luck with it all, and I hope you enjoy the study, and I hope to see you in the near future on campus, where we'll be able to give you a bit more of a refresher on using the building as a whole. All right, thank you. Bye.